Josh Kerr told the world what he was going to do months before he did it. A record that stood for 27 years, a record nobody could touch. Hicham El Guerrouj ran 3:43.30 thumbin back in 1999, and it never moved since. Then on July 18, 2026, in London in front of 60,000 fans, Kerr stepped onto the track to prove his own words right. This is how Josh Kerr just destroyed a 27-year-old mile record. Let's talk about why this record mattered so much. Hicham El Guerrouj set his mile time in Rome in 1999. That is 27 years of the fastest milers on the planet trying and failing to beat it. Runners came and went. Training methods got better. Shoes got faster. Science got smarter. And the record just sat there, untouched, like a wall nobody could climb. Think about that for a second. In almost every other sport, records fall every few years. But the mile record survived 3 decades of the best athletes alive throwing everything they had at it. That is the record Josh Kerr decided to attack. And here is the part that makes this even bigger. Britain had not held the men's mile world record since 1985, when Steve Cram set it. That is 41 years. An entire generation of British runners grew up without a world record holder in this event. The mile is also a strange race in modern track and field. Major championships like the Olympics and the World Championships do not even run the mile. They run the 1,500 meters instead. So the mile world record almost feels frozen in time, a distance that only gets full attention at a handful of meets each year. That is part of why El Guerrouj's mark lasted so long. Fewer elite runners were even attacking that exact distance at full effort, year after year. So this was not just about one runner chasing one number. This was about ending a 41-year wait for an entire country in a race that barely gets contested at the highest level anymore. Here is something most fans do not know. Josh Kerr did not just show up hoping to get lucky. He built an entire plan around this record months before the race, and he gave it a name, Project 222Y222, because 3 minutes and 42 seconds equals 222 seconds. That was his target, not just beating the record. Running under 3:43 completely, something no human had ever done. Kerr said it publicly before the race even happened. He told BBC Sport this was one of his biggest career goals, calling the mile record one of the most respected marks in the entire sport. He said the record had stood the test of time and needed serious respect to break. That is a bold thing to say out loud. When you announce a world record attempt in public, you cannot hide if you fail. Every fan, every reporter, every rival gets to watch. But Kerr had receipts. Just 1 week before the London race, he ran the fastest 1,200 meters ever recorded in a training time trial. That is not a rumor. That actually happened. It told everyone watching that this was not empty talk. His body was ready. Remember this part, because it comes back at the end of this video. There was also personal history driving him. Kerr is a 3-time world champion. He has Olympic medals. He has won global titles across the 1,500 meters and the 3,000 meters. Just weeks before this mile attempt, he won his 3rd world title, storming to indoor 3,000-meter gold in Poland. But 6 months before that win, his world 1,500-meter title defense in Tokyo fell apart. He tore a calf muscle during the final. His season ended in pain instead of glory. So this mile record attempt was not coming from a runner riding an easy streak. It was coming from someone who had already fought back from a serious injury that same year. He rebuilt himself, won a world title indoors, then turned around and chased one of the hardest outdoor records in the sport, all within a matter of months. Saturday, July 18, 2026. The Novuna London Athletics Meet. Part of the Diamond League season, one of the biggest stages in track and field, 60,000 fans packed into London Stadium. Not a small crowd watching from home. 60,000 people in the building, live, watching a British athlete try to do something no Brit had done in 41 years. Kerr did not run this alone. He had 2 pacemakers helping him hit the right speed early in the race. His training partner, Brandon Kidder, and fellow runner Zahn Rudolph went out first to set the tempo. Kidder hit the first 400 meters in 54.75 seconds. That is world record pace right from the gun. Kerr was just a few strides behind at 55.3. By 800 meters, Kerr reached the halfway point in 151.1. Still on pace, still calm, still in control. Then something happened that most fans were not expecting. The pacemakers stepped aside, and Kerr had to do the rest alone. At 1,200 meters, Kerr hit 2:46.39. And this is the moment the entire stadium realized something historic was actually happening. That pace was not just fast. It was faster than his own British record for the 1,500-meter distance, a shorter race entirely. He was running a full mile faster than he had ever run a shorter one. The crowd of 60,000 people roared him on for the final stretch. He crossed 1,500 meters at 3:27.62. That split alone would have been an excellent standalone race time for most professional milers. For Kerr, it was just a checkpoint on the way to something bigger. Now came the hardest part of any distance race. The final stretch, when your legs are screaming and your lungs are burning, and the only thing left is whether your mind can push through the pain. This is the exact moment where world record attempts usually fall apart. Runners hit the wall. The pace drops. The record slips away in the final 100 meters. Would Kerr's legs hold up after pushing that hard for over 3 minutes straight? The entire stadium held its breath. Kerr crossed the finish line at 3:42.66. Breaking down the number, let's slow down and understand what 3:42.66 actually means. El Guerrouj's record was 3:43 point thin. Kerr's time beat that by 0.47 seconds. Less than half a second. That might sound small. It is not. In elite mile racing, half a second is massive. This was a record that had survived 27 years of attempts, and Kerr did not just scrape past it. He became the first human being in history to run a mile under 3 minutes and 43 seconds. Nobody in the history of the sport had ever done that before this exact moment. After the race, Kerr admitted something honest. He said he was hoping for it to be a little faster, but he was still happy with the result. That single sentence tells you everything about how driven this guy is. He just broke a record that lasted 27 years, and his first reaction was thinking about how he could have gone even quicker. He also described the moment as overwhelming. He said there was a lot of hype around this attempt, and that being surrounded by the right people kept him working toward this exact result. He said he knew a 3:42 was somewhere inside him, and admitted he almost lost his composure right at the very end, right as the record became real. Picture that. A world-class athlete, seconds away from history, nearly losing control of his emotions before he even crossed the line. That is how much this record meant. The man Dubio Chazid Himker did not run this race in an empty stadium with no competition. American runner Yared Nuguse, the Olympic 1,500-meter bronze medalist, stayed close to Kerr for a large part of the race before the pace became too much. Nuguse finished second in 3:45.69, a season best time for him. After the race, he called it a race of pure grit and said that even though he could not keep up with Kerr, it was still an incredible race to be part of.